everybody. So we are so excited to be coming back for another episode of Talking Disney. This month, we are talking about Oliver and Company. This is so fun. And I'm Rachel, and Stanford is here.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the invite back on the show. So happy to be here.
Thank
Talk
you.
about this movie.
And we got a pretty good roll of the dice last time with the 27th feature film. We've been doing this series out of order just because it's more fun that way.
Yes, indeed.
I was thinking about, because I definitely was pretty harsh on this in my review. I had some positives, but in my last Canon watch, and I think part of that comes from the fact that it's at the end of just this era that's just hard, and you're just tired, after, because I would cover one a week. In chronological order.
Yeah.
By the time you get to Oliver and Company, it's just kind of like, it's been like 2 months covering these ones that just aren't great. And
then then you turn the corner and then it's just nothing but great. Yeah.
Exactly. And it does have problems, and we'll talk about that. But it was really fun, and it's a really interesting movie, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it too. I think it really is. It's really a unique film.
Yeah. So this film came out in 1988.
Yes.
And it came out on the same weekend as Land Before Time, which is really interesting because
something. Yeah.
Like back then, they did not have that many animated films. In, I think, 1987, there wasn't a single mainstream animated film release. I think the biggest release was like the G.I. Joe movie was like the biggest animated release. And so for them to have these two releases the same weekend is very unusual. Now it happens all the time, so we wouldn't even think about it. Back then, it was really unusual.
Kind of a big deal, and like really a competitive move. I don't know who had put their film on the schedule first, whether Universal or Disney, but still, that was
either way. It was ballsy move on the part of Don Bluth. He
absolutely
had to be super confident in his movie to put it up against Disney. That was gutsy.
Yeah, it was gutsy.
Yeah, it was.
And do you have box office numbers on that, Rachel?
I didn't get the actual. I didn't write down the actual numbers, but I do know that Land Before Time was first place.
Yeah, that's as I recall. I mean, again, it was forever ago, but it seems to me that Land Before Time won. Yeah, and at least the box office race.
Oliver and Company was fourth place.
Okay, and
in the end, Oliver and Company did outgross Land Before Time in the totals.
Okay.
Which is interesting. And Land Before Time, it's a really interesting movie because it's a very sweet movie, but it is pretty heavy-handed is too negative a word, but it's just really interesting. It's something we don't see anymore because it lays it on super thick. It's like the music and the narration and his Littlefoot saw his mother and he ran to her and he, it's like really interesting, and you just don't get movies like that at all.
No.
Now.
Which is probably a good thing.
Like I watched it and I liked it, but I was kind of like, is it a good movie? I think it is, but it's definitely just so outdated.
Yeah,
approach.
I honestly saw it once in 1988. And
yeah.
And so, but I know. I mean, it's sure spawned a.
Oh my gosh! There's like 15 sequels.
Yeah, so many sequels and so popular.
Yeah. I have never seen any of the sequels.
Oh, I haven't either. Maybe I saw the second one.
I don't know. It's just it's kind of like, I don't know, disliking a sweet, adorable puppy. Like, it's so, like, you can't dislike it, but it's so
It's
But
whatever.
anyway, it's just interesting because it's so outdated in its approach and the way that it does things. And whereas I feel like Oliver and Company, it has lots of problems, in my opinion, with things, but it actually doesn't feel that outdated in the
No, in
jokes,
fact,
in the style, in a lot of
yeah.
things.
In fact, I think that's one of the things that really that stood out to me about Oliver and Company
Yeah.
was just how, for lack of a better term, modern or current it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was set in the New York City of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to the past, and it was just
Yeah.
it was New York, and they brought in lots of different create on the creative team, and we'll talk about that. But that, I think, very surprising and a very interesting comparison to the Land Before Time, which is Land Before Time in a way seems like it's more traditional kids fare,
Oh yeah,
um, even
definitely.
though it is what it is. But Oliver and Company, I thought in a lot of ways was something. It was Disney, but it was kind of different. I thought it was a move in a different direction.
Different. And you could tell that they were trying a lot of things out. This was the beginning of a push by Jeffrey Katzenberg to release a new film every year,
Every
which
year.
they did every year for a long time, all the way up until in between the Lion King.
Lion King.
Yeah. And this was the whole idea of this came. There was this whole thing called the Gong Show. Do you know about the Gong Show?
I do know about the Gong Show. That they had it. That they had at the Disney Studios.
Yes.
It was Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner, right?
Yes, it was. And Clements and Musker, bless their heart, they wanted that Space Treasure Island so bad.
Right.
They tried from the very beginning of the Gong Show, and it was not. They were like, nope. And but they brought up the idea of the Little Mermaid, and the storyboard artist Pete Young, he suggested Oliver Twist with dogs as this idea, and then it ended up. The director Richard Rich, who has like the best name ever, he was originally going to be on board to do it, and he's the one who directed Swan Princess.
Yep.
And he's kind of I don't know if you'd say he's a celebrity in the Mormon world, but he's kind of is.
But he kind of is, yeah. I mean, because he's kind of made his mark with those living scripture products and things, right?
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And Don Bluth, to be fair.
And Don Bluth. Yeah.
So anyway, he ended up getting fired, Richard Rich, and George Scribner ended up becoming the director. He's mostly been an animator in his career. His only other directing was for The Prince and the Pauper.
And I looked on IMDb for about George Scribner too, and it was interesting because he was in various animation roles before. He was an animator on that Heavy Metal movie. I don't know if you saw that. Not Disney, definitely not Disney.
Not Disney.
But and then also they have him credited as directing. I've got a couple of projects for Disneyland.
Oh, okay.
He directed there was this fun. It's like a 20-minute film with Steve Martin commemorating the 50th anniversary of Disneyland, and it's got a bunch of live action shots, and then an animated Donald Duck is in there, kind of playing off of Steve Martin, and they've got him credited as directing that. But I'm not sure if George Scribner is doing much. Oh, and he also, the other thing, this is what I was going to say. Have you seen that Mickey's PhilharMagic show that's at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World?
I haven't.
It's a 20-minute film. It's in 3D, and it's basically like 5 or 6 classic songs, Disney sequences that they animated in 3D. So they did a 3D version of Be Our Guest, 3D version of I Can't Wait to Be King from the Lion King. They also did one from Peter Pan. You Can Fly from Peter Pan, and It's actually, I mean, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, how horrible. But I love it. I just think, just because they really worked hard on getting the 3D animation right. It really looks like it's like, it's for me, it works.
Cool.
But anyway,
yeah.
Scribner is attributed to directing that. I don't know if he's working for Disney anymore, but he's a very excellent painter. And I know at Disneyland they have a lot of his works that they sell in the some of their art galleries there, and he's done a lot of like almost like impressionistic painting of things at Disneyland. And I love his paintings. They're wonderful. Because I know I saw George Scribner. I didn't make the connection at first when I mean this was maybe 10 years ago or something. I was looking in one of those Disney gallery stores and thought, where have I seen that name before? George Scribner. And then I just think about it and I realized, oh my goodness, he's the guy. Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, and they were definitely nurturing some talents. They were trying ideas with this. Definitely, I think the biggest feedback, we'll talk about the music a lot, but I think the biggest feedback they got was that people like basically Disney musicals. And that's kind of, where they went for the next, except for Rescuers Down Under, where they went for the next decade really basically they were musicals. And the screenplay it's interesting, is by Jim Cox, Tim Disney, Roy's son, so that's interesting. And James Mangold, the Helmer of Logan, wrote this movie. So
isn't that cool?
Yeah. So who knew, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think this movie starts out, particularly the first 15 minutes are probably the highlight of the movie and my favorite part. I think you don't have much dialogue at the very beginning, but I love the cityscapes, and it's really unusual for a Disney film to be set in an urban environment. We've had Big Hero 6. We talked about it in our Big Hero 6 podcast. There's like a little bit there's like a little bit of London in 101 Dalmatians, a little bit of Paris and the Aristocats. But that's about it.
A little bit of London and Peter Pan.
That's true.
But right. This one is, the city is in a way almost a character too. And when you see the cityscapes of the Twin Towers, I just die every time. I just get so emotional. I know, like who would have thought, when I'm so glad that it's in a way, it's a record. It's
every 9/11 I post a picture that from Oliver and Company.
That one for that shot, one of those shots from Oliver and Company with, because
there's just something about it being captured in Disney that to me is special. And and the whole opening number with Once Upon a Time in New York City, they were trying to test out different talent with this. And so this song was written by Barry Mann and Howard Ashman.
I know.
Wrote this song.
So cool. And Howard Ashman.
Yeah. And he had a positive experience and, then went to work on Little Mermaid, and it's sung by Huey Lewis. And I love this song.
Oh, I do too. I love this song. I did some homework too. Barry Mann, I mean, that dude's got songwriting credits like you can't believe. He used to. Have you seen Beautiful, the Carole King musical? Did you see that?
I haven't, but I've heard it's fantastic.
It's wonderful, and they Carole King and her husband at the time, were a big songwriting duo, and they feature another songwriting duo, kind of a husband and wife team in the play, and it's Barry Mann is this other guy.
Interesting.
And he and his wife wrote songs like on Broadway, as in they say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. That's a Barry Mann song. And You've Lost That Love and Feeling from the Righteous Brothers. That's Barry Mann and his wife wrote that. So anyway, Barry Mann is like this legit songwriter.
Yeah.
And then pair him up with Howard Ashman, and I just think It's so cool, and
Amazing.
Huey Lewis does a great job. And I think I love how it sets. Instantly, it pulled me in because again, I mean, I love New York City, and I love the concept of they're kind of setting up this like almost a fairy tale in reality, you know, but in gritty New York City. I thought it really just pulled me in instantly.
Yeah. Well, and I read that they had over 30 brands that were shown in the film, and that there was not a single, I guess, paid product placement. It was all just part of capturing New York City. And
I'm so glad you brought that up because I wondered how they got away with it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, hey, if my brand for free is going to be featured in a Disney movie, I'm not complaining.
They did a beautiful job with it, and it's like you'd see it, you know, like in Times Square or whatever. Yeah.
But it's just a lovely sequence, and of course, you see Oliver in the box of kittens.
It's so cute. I mean,
cute.
I am not a cat person. In fact, I really don't like cats, but I think Oliver is just adorable.
Yeah. And it is nice that you have at least one, you know, you have this and the Aristocats that both have nice cats, because the poor cat fans, because they have usually are the villain in most movies.
They're like Cy and Am from Lady and the Tramp, right? And that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're portrayed as them.
I mean, at least you have Sergeant Tibbs, who's probably the best of all time.
Yes, and yes, yeah.
Well, like in Babe, you know.
All right.
Villain, cat.
Yeah.
But it's really nice. And so it works really, really well, and it's really sweet. And then so they were obviously, when they are adapting Oliver Twist as a Disney film and Oliver as a cat, there obviously is a loose adaptation.
Oh, yeah. I think it's one of those, if I'm not mistaken, in the credits, Rachel, it's inspired by.
Yeah.
You know? Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist.
There are some choices that I don't understand why they made the choices they made. And I don't understand why they didn't have one scene with Oliver saying, "Can I have some more?
May I have some more, please?"
Like, that's just so iconic.
It's
like, and
Oliver.
It would have been so easy to add in, and just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And in some ways, I do kind of feel the same way about this as I do Sword in the Stone, which it is feel a little bit of a shame that, like, you know, just kind of, I feel like in Sword in the Stone, like, it's a little bit of a shame that that's the Disney King Arthur that we get, is kind of this silly movie, and this is the Dickens that we get, is kind of this silly movie. But anyway, so there's some good choices, some other choices I do not like as far as the adaptation. But we have Oliver as this cat, and he meets Dodger, voiced by Billy Joel. And
one of Billy Joel's few film roles, if only film role, you know. Yeah. I mean, not that he's done a lot. I can't believe that they got him to be in it.
Well, and he said that I guess he had a little girl at the time, and he wanted to do something that his little girl could see and that she'd like. So I think that's why he did it. And so Dodger in the book is pretty similar, I feel like, to in the character.
I think that they kind of captured the Artful Dodger in Dodger the dog. Yeah.
And he is confident, and he's cocky, and he is going to teach Oliver how to steal these hot dogs, and kind of use Oliver to help him steal the hot dogs. And that's when we get Why Should I Worry? And this is, of course, sung by Billy Joel. This was written by Dan Hartman and Charlie Midnight. And I think this whole sequence really works. I like the way it just kind of moves with the beat. Like, the song is a tiny bit of an earworm. Like, it's the kind of thing you'll hear in your head over and over and over again. But it's really pretty catchy, and like most earworms are. And and when he finally gets to the point of where the the sunglasses table is coming off, and we can raise the town. Why should I worry? Like that is a pretty fun hook to a song, I think. What do you think?
Oh, I love this. I love the whole sequence. I think, how Dodger cons Oliver and to help him steal the hot dogs, and then I'm with you. Just everything moves to the beat of the song, and I love the concept that the dogs, and Oliver ride on top of the cars.
Yeah,
I just think that is so clever.
And it's just like right with beat.
Yeah,
like when he's on that cement thing.
He's on that cement truck, and how it turns. It's so. I just think it's fun. I was talking to someone who was saying that possibly they thought that the song was overrated, and sure. I mean,
you were talking to Mark.
Well, I don't want to.
Yes, I know.
Mark will probably listen.
A quote of his later on.
Mark, I think you're awesome, dude, but I think we disagree. We disagree on that because, I don't think it's overrated. I can understand, like you're saying, the earworm stuff. Personally, I think it's delightful. It's produced by Billy Joel's long-term producer Phil Ramone, and it's a great Billy Joel song. And I just think. I would think, again, I was amazed, like, how in the world is there a Billy Joel song in a Disney movie? This is so awesome.
It's just so unique. I can't think of any other song like that in a Disney movie, aside from maybe a credits song.
Yeah.
That's actually part of the story and part of the, kind of thing. It's very, very unique, and certainly hadn't had anything like that to that point. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that all, I think, works really well. I love the animation. I'm not a huge fan of the way they animated the humans in this movie. I think it looks a little Saturday afternoon things, but all the stuff with the dogs and all the stuff with the city and all of that all looks great. So, and that's all there is in this beginning part. So
it's also fun in this too, because in this sequence too, you see some dogs that might look somewhat familiar. I think that they kind of copy the designs or have like cameos of some other Disney dogs.
Because there's definitely Pongo.
Yeah,
at one point for sure.
Yeah,
and I don't know if
like some dogs possibly from Lady and the Tramp. There's not Lady or Tramp, I don't believe, in the film.
No, like that would have been kind of fun as an Easter egg.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that there's definitely Pongo for sure. But anyway, yeah, it's really strong. I think this whole first 15 minutes is really good. And then we get to Fagin and the dogs, the gang. And that's when I start to have some issues. But let's talk about the gang themselves. So we have Shirley Ralph voicing Rita. And one of the things I don't understand is why they had Ruth Pointer sing her song, because Shirley Ralph is a Tony nominee. She's a very good singer. I know. She was in Dreamgirls, for goodness sakes. Like, I don't understand.
I don't understand either, because again, Ruth Pointer is a big name. The Pointer sisters, but couldn't have Cheryl. I don't know.
Odd, huh? And we'll talk about it in a bit, but I do think anyway, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I think it's a weird choice that they made, but whatever. They do a good job, and it is unusual to have it this. I guess they're in Fox and the Hound. There were Pearl Bailey would have been an African American voice that they knew. So there were some, but pretty uncommon to have an African American voice actress. And so that's pretty cool that they did that. It's an Afghan hound.
Okay.
Hound dog.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I think she does a good job. And then you have Cheech Marin as Tito, and he's a Chihuahua. And I don't know, what do you think about Tito? Do you think he is fun, or do you think he's too much of a stereotype?
Well, again, I think it's a snapshot in time, which doesn't justify anything, but I'm just saying it is a snapshot in time. And I think that my take on it was that Disney was trying to be a little edgy
Uh-huh.
because Cheech and Chong, his uh, comedy partner Tommy Chong, they had this whole. I mean, they were extremely popular, comedy albums and all the stuff, and so I think to be able to land Cheech Martin to play the sassy Mexican Chihuahua
Uh-huh.
was, I thought at the time a bit of a casting coup,
Yeah.
because again, thinking, wow, again, same thing, like, what is Billy Joel doing in a Disney movie? What is Cheech Martin doing in a Disney movie? Because their comedy was all just about smoking pot. But
Right.
he still has that very distinctive and, again, stereotypical type of,
Yeah. I mean,
vocal delivery. And so, but I'm just trying to add what I think some
no,
context.
I appreciate that very much. And I was fine with it, to be honest, but I'm not Mexican American, so
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yeah. And
Um,
I don't know if audiences today would find that offensive. And I just don't know. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
because again, it's not necessarily portraying him in a negative way, but again, it's just a very stereotypical.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they would, because I mean, you look at something like Michael Pena's character in Ant-Man.
Yeah, and Ant-Man.
That different? Really?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. It's interesting. But anyway, so Richard Mulligan is Einstein. He's a Great Dane, and he's kind of fun. And then Roscoe Lee Brown as Francis the Bulldog, and he's the art and theater Shakespearean.
He's the master thespian of the
So and I like when he says that he's like, my name is Francis, not Frank, not Frankie, because I'm not a big nickname person. So I'm with him there. Francis.
That works. Yeah. Like, yeah, get that.
Okay, so here's where these were all fine. They were cute. They were good. But I thought that Fagin was a miss. I don't understand why they decided to make him so likable, to make him this like sympathetic dweeb. I just thought made him really boring. And I know that Sykes is in the book, but I feel like Fagin is just so much more interesting and menacing and in the book. And I don't know. I think casting Dom DeLuise as Fagin's voice was a mistake, because that's just, it's not going to be it's not going to be a bad guy. Like, he never voices bad guys.
Yeah.
And so like, it just took any kind of, I don't know, just made him a little grating and a little not my favorite character. And I don't know. I just think it was a miss. They should have made him the villain. And I would have just gotten rid of Sykes altogether and had Fagin just be a bad guy that they have to deal with. And like they are the ones getting extorted by Fagin, not Fagin getting extorted by Sykes.
By Sykes, yeah.
Because also, like, the whole thing with Sykes, it doesn't really make sense, because what is Sykes going to take from Fagin? He lives in, like, it doesn't even have a house. Like, he has nothing.
Nothing.
Like, so he can threaten to kill him, but then he's not going to get his money back. Right. And so, like, I don't know. It just, that to me was a total miss. I didn't like, for pretty much the human characters were a miss for me in this movie. I think they drag it down, make it boring, and I don't know. I hear what Fagin.
I hear what you're saying, Rachel. I thought with Fagin, again, just almost like, I just felt like they were thinking, well, this is Oliver Twist. We need to have a character named Fagin in this movie. So we'll create this new, interpretation of Fagin, but it's not Fagin, it's not,
not at all.
Name and a similar kind of position in that he's over the gang, but
Yeah, but
he's
Fagin
their
is
he's their sweet buddy, you know, rather than like who reads them bedtime stories, not you know, anyone menacing. Yeah, I, I I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to analyze how I let that one go, because sometimes, you know me, I find stuff. And I think because I felt like this was such a loose interpretation, you know, like really all we have is, you know, Oliver's an orphan and he's going to get adopted. And then sometimes, you know, then they're going to try to, you know, this whole extortion plot. But,
yeah.
but, it was so dissimilar, and some of those scenes with Fagin were kind of cute, and you know,
Yeah.
well, I guess it worked enough that I just let it go. What happened to me, Rachel?
Yeah.
What kind of English major am I to let this, you know?
But I mean,
let this go.
In the book, like Fagin is responsible for Nancy's death,
right?
And
I mean,
like he is
Fagin is it's heavy. He's the heavy, you know, or one of them, and so. I thought, yeah, interesting choice to make Sykes the bad guy. And yeah, and like, why does Sykes even bother? I'm
for real.
I'm with you.
Like, he destroys his car, like, that's worth way more than anything Fagin could have had.
Right.
Like, I think actually probably Sykes's Dobermans are scarier than anything the Sykes. To me, Sykes felt like the Professor Claw in Inspector Gadget. Like, he was just so bland and so lame, and I don't know. But I thought the Dobermans were better.
Yeah, I thought the Dobermans were, and you know me, with cars. I thought Sykes, because I think they were using some computer animation on his car.
Yeah,
and his car was, I thought, was pretty rad for animation. You know, it's kind of this souped up Lincoln Continental thing. You know, Mark whatever, and I like that part. I thought was really cool. I like this, and I'm with you though on Sykes. I did like, again, back to the car, but the people animation too. I can't, again. I think I'm processing it. I really like hearing what you have to say about it, because I remember at the time when I saw it on this big screen, thinking, these characters, I don't know if they were together, but I like that they were trying to do something. I felt like that they were at least trying to make them, even though they were very cartoony, they were making them look different and unique to me. This is how I was interpreting it, and I could just totally be up in the night.
No, but everyone's entitled
to
their opinion. So I do love Streets of Gold. That's the one that I think is actually underrated as far as this movie.
I know, and I feel like we kind of got gypped because it's so short.
I know.
Like, I wish it were 3 times as long. And that, again, nothing against Ruth Pointer, but I just think, why couldn't you know, the other actress, Shirley Ralph, sing it. But
no point.
That's such a fun segment as they're showing Oliver the ropes of being in the gang.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And then we meet Jenny, and Jenny is so bland and so and I know that she's supposed to be Penny from The Rescuers originally, but I'm not a big fan of Penny from The Rescuers, so that maybe this part of it. But I don't know. She's just, there's nothing, I don't think, special about Jenny. She's just very bland to me.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I thought Jenny was cute, but and that was just her role, you know.
Yeah.
So not anything like you're supposed to feel sorry for her, that she, you know, her parents are kind of neglecting her, right? Yeah. But
later on, I don't really understand why she goes to their ransom thing all by herself, and she doesn't tell her
She doesn't
guy.
tell the butler, and she takes Georgette.
Yeah.
You know?
And like from all intents and purposes, the butler guy seemed perfectly nice, like and perfectly open to,
and that she trusted him, you know, that they had a good relationship.
Yeah. And like I don't know, he's just like watching wrestling
Yeah.
in the kitchen. Like I don't see why he couldn't have been involved in this. But anyway, But then we meet Georgette, and this is at the 33-minute mark, and which is kind of late for such a big name kind of character. And we get her song "Perfect Isn't Easy," and this was by Barry Manilow.
Which again, what is Barry Manilow doing? Writing music for a Disney movie. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
But I love this whole sequence. I think
it's a fun sequence. It's terrific.
It's
and
really
Bette Midler again. What is Bette Midler doing in a Disney movie? Because she's terrific, and I love that sequence too. Really fun.
Yeah.
And really cool use again. Also of computer animation in that last bit where she's going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
love
really has an old Hollywood feel.
Yes, it's Busby Berkeley.
Yeah. When we talked about Cats Don't Dance.
Yeah.
Some of the Darlin numbers, it kind of reminds me the same as this number, you know, with the
absolutely.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And it's a good song. And then we get one more song with Good Company that is sung by the Jenny she's practicing her piano or whatever, and we get this montage, but I'm like super confused here because how long is this montage? Because it seems like it's quite a long time. And at first I thought, well, is she just dreaming about these Good Company and these things that she's going to be doing? But no, because he has the thing, the locket.
Yeah, he's got.
And they're like going all over town.
He's got the kitty. He's got the tag. The kitty
but
tag.
like, it doesn't really make sense because why has the whole gang waited so long? And there was only like 4 days until Sykes was due the money. And so she did all of that in like one day.
Yeah, I my interpretation, from whatever it's worth, I hear what you're saying. I always thought it was like in an afternoon. I'm like, well, it's been a busy afternoon.
It's been a really busy afternoon. That's very true.
But it's like, well, okay. Again, I'm suspending disbelief. Like, okay, whatever. I mean,
let's be real.
And it's a cute little song. It's probably my least favorite song of the songs in the film. But anyway.
I mean, let's be real. This is Cat Oliver Twist. So, like, I mean, I'm just a little confused on the timetable here. And the other thing, like, that's a little lacking is I don't really understand why they want to go after Oliver, because they've only spent like one night with him. And it didn't seem like they were that close, especially Dodger. He wasn't that close. And he's like with these nice people, rich people, whatever. Like if their motivation had been to use Oliver as a way to steal from Penny's family, that would have made, or Jenny's family, that would have made sense. That would have been logical. But like their motivation to save Oliver, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you're saying too. I think I interpreted it as they were definitely misguided, right? Like they're like, thinking that Oliver, they just weren't thinking, or they just didn't have the experience. Because Oliver's reaction, he's so mad when they come to get him because he's like, "What are you doing?" You know, I landed in this really great spot, and now you've wrecked it. And
and they could like take like a lot of stuff from that house and help.
Absolutely,
no problem.
And kind of pay up the debt, or pay off the debt with Sykes. But
also, Why does a dog need face powder? That's my other question.
Yeah.
So this is yeah.
Yeah. These important questions.
Georgette has face powder.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, and
I hear you.
in this whole sequence that you get Tito saying, "If this is torture, chain me to
Chain
the
me to the
wall."
wall.
There you go. It's pretty
Yeah.
racy. And also, like, it feels like this whole sequence, Fagin has been kind of forgotten. There's no like attempt to be like, "Hey, let's take the silver bowl or whatever that's we're eating from that could be value," or just nothing. There's no talk about Fagin. It's all Oliver and whatever. And so I don't know. It's just interesting. And to me, this whole sequence, this whole part with Jenny and rescuing Oliver, it's kind of boring. And that's when I notice things like, why does a dog need face powder? Is when I'm bored. And so then I started to notice things like it's the old thing that like you only notice the craft service table in the shot in a bad movie. Because otherwise you're so wrapped up in the movie that you don't notice, oh, there's the boom mic in the in the shot. You don't notice it. Or there's a continuity error, or there's a plot hole. You don't notice those things if you're really caught up in the magic of the movie.
Yes. True.
You in a bad movie.
Yeah.
This is bad, but this sequence, I thought, this part, the middle part, is kind of boring.
It's really, I think it's really slow from when, from this part up to when they try to break out Jenny from the warehouse, the scary warehouse that she's tied up in, right?
Yeah.
I the whole thing, it all kind of, for me, it kind of slows down too.
Yeah. And like, you've established Fagin as this like great sympathetic guy, and then now you're supposed to buy, he sees the dog cat collar on Oliver, and he immediately writes this like horrible letter of like extorting them, and he's gonna like extort a little girl for her cat. Like, that didn't seem established for the type of character that they had set up to me.
Yeah.
And I wrote in my notes, I was like, this part is very boring. And then I'm like, the Gangming's family? What? Their behavior makes no sense. Fagin extorts a little girl for her cat, but he's been established as a good guy. So bored.
That's good.
And so, and then I'm just like, why wouldn't Jenny tell her caregiver about this extortion? Like, he seemed perfectly nice. Yeah. And she's being blackmailed and going to this dangerous place that she'd never been before. Like, that didn't really make sense. But you need it for the story. I get it.
Right.
Like, anyway. So then we get to this extortion spot, and Fagin feels sorry for Jenny. And so I said, Fagin gives Oliver back to Jenny. Boring. And now we're getting somewhere for me, is after this sort of sequence. So Sykes takes Jenny and ties her to this chair, and it's pretty like intense. And I think this whole ending where literally there's this whole chase, and Fagin drives his scooter or whatever it is onto the down the stairs to the subway,
and the limo, or not the limo, the Lincoln Continental, follows them down into the subway station,
which is crazy.
And
this was the first, or this was the longest use of the CAPS system.
Yeah.
What do you know about the CAPS system?
Well, if we're talking about the same thing, I believe that the CAPS system and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but computer animated something processing system or something. But they were using it to paint. They were using it to color. I mean, they used it as the painting system for all the animated cells, and so you really notice it in the Rescuers Down Under. I think with the vibrant colors that are in that film, because they were using the cap system. Is that what you were going for, right?
Yeah, and they did the last 11 minutes, the whole 11 minutes of the subway system.
Yeah.
The 11 minutes of the subway sequence with the taxi cab, the trains, the subway, whatever, his scooter cart, that whole chase, that's all was done in caps.
And you can really tell. I remember thinking, the first time I saw the sequence, not only was it exciting, but it was really interesting to look at, even though it was ridiculous what had happened. Like, driving the Lincoln Continental down into the subway station, and kind of that whole thing. But still, I thought it was an exciting chase scene, and really, really well animated. I thought.
I love it, and it's like weird because it looks dated, obviously, but it's still like oddly captivating.
Yeah.
No, it's oddly compelling.
It's really well put together. I think.
Yeah, I really like it, and like it's a pretty. I mean, you do have some pretty brutal deaths for villains. Like Tarzan has the ultimate brutal death of a villain, but this is pretty brutal.
Oh, this is brutal and pretty clear.
Yeah. And the dogs, the poor dogs. I felt a little bit bad for the dogs.
The dogs.
The Dobermans.
Oof.
Yeah,
they met a gnarly death too.
Yeah, and then we get this scene with everyone at Jenny's birthday, and this scene makes no sense. Like, she literally has spent no time with any of these dogs. How would she possibly know Einstein's name? That makes no sense. Also, like the only time that she spent with these dogs is in this like horrible experience of being abducted and like being chased down a subway. Like, this is not a friendly experience, and so like it really makes no sense. But again, I know I'm totally overthinking it, but it was just kind of funny.
Your brain was just like not having any of
it. and like she's saying goodbye to Fagin, and it's like Fagin extorted her. I guess she could have learned Einstein's name from Fagin, but he extorted her, he blackmailed her, and he like chased her. And I mean, I don't know. I just don't think they'd be super good friends.
Yeah, they'd be BFFs, right?
I do kind of like that their presents for her were like super bizarre, and like she was just like, yeah,
that was kind of funny. Yeah,
you gave me fish bones.
Right.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah,
but like actual gifts that like a dog would actually give is kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, and we get a little reprise of Why Should I Worry?
Yes, which is for me, it's so fun because again, dogs on top of the cars. New York, I just love, and then I just think it's such a fun song, and again, I love how they back up, and it's kind of again we see that same Manhattan skyline again that we saw at the first of the film, but kind of at the end of the day.
And so I think it's an interesting movie. They tried a lot of things. They were really experimental, and you see where they kind of took it and said, okay, we're going to make musicals from now on. We're going to work with Howard Ashman. We're going to work with some of these people, and we're going to work with this technology, all that stuff. So it was a kind of an experimental, I think, film for them. And overall, it's fine and pleasant to watch. And there's some boring parts for me where my mind kind of wanders, but I did enjoy it. And I have it in my rankings. I have it actually at 47.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I might put it a little higher now if I was doing another ranking, but I don't know. It's just hard because I like so many. But I have it 47, Saludos Amigos at 48, and I have Aristocats at 46.
Okay.
So, There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I put it, but I'd have it in kind of my mid range of like good, not necessarily great. Because I'm with you, I like so many of them, and I was talking about doing that ranking, kind of like best, better, and maybe not so good or something, like three or four bucket. I would definitely be in the middle bucket, but I mean, I think I like it more than you, and probably just because I turned my brain off, which I don't advocate. It's just it goes against so many things that I believe in, but. I think I was just so entertained, and still, as I've just said 100 times already, in this podcast, so shocked with what I was seeing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but in all in good ways. I mean, happy ways, just like this was a marvel, and just learning about Howard Ashman, and I think that's supposedly you just realize after, after Little Mermaid, after Beauty and the Beast, we're like, oh. Howard Ashman was also involved in Allhorn Company, and how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and just think.
And I didn't hate it.
Sure.
There's some boring parts for me, but overall I still like it, and it was really. I really do think this is one of those movies that's more fun to talk about than actually watch. Which is like a true thing. Like the Star Wars prequels are completely that. They are way more interesting to talk about than to watch.
Than have to watch. Like, please don't make me watch.
So, all right. Do you want to figure out what we're going to talk about next? Here we go.
Okay. I'm excited.
56. So we're talking about Moana.
All right.
Next month.
Outstanding. I love your number generator, Rachel. It's so awesome.
I'm surprised. So that'll be really fun.
That'll be fun.
Because should we do 2 that month and talk about Wreck-It Ralph? Wait, Wreck-It Ralph, is that November or October?
It's November.
Okay. Well, we'll do Wreck-It Ralph 2 in November. And maybe we should do Wreck-It Ralph and Wreck-It Ralph 2 in November.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I think.
That'd be great.
Okay. So we'll do that. So October, we will do Moana. And that'll be super fun. I love that movie.
I love that movie, too. That's going to be fun to talk with you about.
Yeah. And then we will do Wreck-It Ralph and Wreck-It Ralph 2 in November. So that should be great.
That's great.
Good. Okay. Well, thanks so much. This was really fun to talk about.
Thank you, Rachel.
Some great responses from Twitter about this movie. And so I just said, thoughts on Oliver and Company. And here we go. So our friend Mark Brown, he said, has one of the most overrated Disney songs, Why Should I Worry? Also has 2 of the most underrated, Once Upon a Time in New York City and Good Company. So there you go.
Well, and
the conservative film buff, he says, honestly, one of the worst, in my opinion, especially from its era. And then total contrasting, The Love Pirate, he says, I love it very, very much. And the Renaissance era owes it a debt for kicking things off. Plus a great group of singing voices, Huey Lewis, Billy Joel, Ruth Pointer, Bette Midler, Howard Ashman lyrics in the opening song. Love it so much. And the media reviewer says, I think it's a good film. It's not one of Disney's best films because the plot is definitely predictable, but the music, animation, voice acting, and characters make up for the story. And let's see, some other good ones. Eli Sansa says, suffers in comparison to other Disney movies, but it's not bad. Georgette is the standout character. Siornia Tudor, sorry, I'm pronouncing your name wrong. She says, I personally dislike it. Oliver is such a passive character that I don't even remember he was in the film. Dodger was completely unlikable. The other dogs are stereotypes rather than actual characters. The rest are one note and cliched. The music is corny, generic, and dated. The only good things are the animation and the voice acting. So Jack Vologic says, I love it. One of my favorite Disney movies, though maybe it's because I'm a sucker for Dom DeLuise. And so there you go. Lots of different opinions on this one.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And you got such great followers. It's wonderful to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, well, thanks so much. This was really fun to talk about.
Thank you, Rachel.
And where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Stanford Clark, and I also have a movie blog, which is moviespastandpresent.com.
Yeah, check that out. I'll have all the links in the description. And yeah, we're going to be talking for Obscure Animation this month. We're going to be talking about Bill Plimpton's best movie, I think, called Cheatin'. It's going to be really fun. And so look forward to that. And you can follow me here at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes or on YouTube. Please put in your reviews on iTunes for the podcast, because that helps more people to see them. And give us your likes and comments. Yeah. So thanks so much, Stanford. You're the best.
Oh, thank you. This was so fun. Really appreciate it.
It really was fun.
You.
So we will see you all next month, and let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And thanks so much, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye.